What are you building? Are you building a business around your life, or are you building a life around your business? What are your boulders? What's important to you? Is it time with your husband? Is it time with your kids? Is it pizza night on Sunday night? Is it, spin class on Sunday morning? Like, those things need to come in first, and then everything else can come in around it.
All right. So welcome everybody to another episode of the Jacque Show. I'm so excited. We were talking prior to even shooting this, but I'm so excited to have Jillian on here today. Jillian Murphy, the sales queen. Jillian, again, thank you so much. I know that this podcast is going to bring so much value to so many people, especially because I work with a lot of like those entrepreneurs that are wanting to step into like that, being really successful and maybe not knowing the blueprint of that. And I know that's kind of what kind of your niche. So if you could, obviously introduce what got you into this. We'll dive in a little bit deeper, but tell everybody a little bit about who you are and what you're doing.
Yes, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I've been like a huge fan of you. I binge all your reels.
Love it.
I feel like I'm talking to like a celebrity today. Yes, amazing. So excited to be here. But I spent 22 years in the corporate space, top sales executive and a sales trainer. And then I actually moved to the online space. Not by choice. I lost my corporate job like many people did during the pandemic. They cut from the top down when you were in corporate. And I quickly had to pivot, the word of 2021. But I knew that I had a skill that people needed because I saw so many of my friends, family members, everybody else coming to this online space. And I said, you know what? They need to know how to sell their stuff. So I came to the online space, started a Facebook group with really just like my friends and family to teach them how to sell their stuff. And it really grew from there. And I was coined the sales queen. And it's been an amazing journey. And I love to help people with foundational selling all the way up to growing and scaling their businesses. Yeah.
And because obviously I follow you on Instagram, even though you confused me when you switched your handles from the one to the other. I'm like, wait, which one am I?
Very strategic there. We can talk about that.
Yeah. So with that, I know that one of the things you're saying is like a lot of people who are entrepreneurs, they, not all of us are born into that entrepreneurial mindset. I know that I wasn't, and it doesn't sound like you necessarily were. It was just kind of like we were kicked in the ass to get into that space because it was our calling. And sometimes we ignore our calling for a while and we just keep getting more and more and more of a nudge. You're like, I'd never quit my job. I'm like, well, don't worry. We'll get rid of you anyways. And you're like, well, shit, now I have to, it's either sink or swim or pivot and go into another space. I mean, 2020, 2021, especially with my patients, my clients, there have been so many people who have been doing like this self-evaluation where they're like, my job sucks. I hate what I'm doing. I talked with Amanda Clark about this where like people are waking up and they're like, I don't want to wake up in the morning. I'm not excited to get out there and do anything. And then you're getting diagnosed with anxiety or depression. Like, well, no, it's situational. What in your life is making you so miserable right now, And so when people choose to be entrepreneurs, I feel like we do it backwards in a way. And it's because people are like, I don't have the money to invest in like a business coach or like somebody to plan this, or I think I could do it myself. And I think that's probably two of the dumbest things that people can think, in my own personal opinion, because I've been there and I know what it's like. And it's, yes, is there an investment involved? Of course, but you're paying for somebody else's knowledge to make sure that you avoid all the shitty pitfalls of opening and being an entrepreneur, whether you're in an online space or concrete brick and mortar. To have somebody be like, listen, that's normal. I've been through this. This is how we do it. Like, that's kind of like where you go. And then being able to scale it is like every entrepreneur's dream.
Yeah,
so that's why I'm so excited.
It's literally the cheat code. It's like it's the cliff notes.
Up, down, left, right. Boom.
Yeah,
I got it.
It's like here you go. Exactly. It's like back in the day when you used to play Nintendo and you would like go and you'd buy like the cheat codes. Like that's literally what you're paying for. And I love that you say that because the week that I lost my corporate job, I invested in my first business coach. So I lost my corporate job on a Tuesday, and Thursday I wired $10,000 to a business coach. And it was because I saw what she was doing in the online space. I had been in her circle. I had been in her realm. And I said to myself, I want what she has. I don't want to try to figure this out. She's the cheat code. She's the up, down, left, right. She's what I want. So I'm going to invest in it. And this is the other thing that I see people doing is they're investing in things in the wrong order.
Yeah.
So that was also super important to me, was like, I'm going to invest to get the steps in the foundations that I need in the right order, because I don't have time to try to figure this out on my own. I got to get money coming in.
Yeah. And it's huge. And I'm curious because we invested into, we invested into Chris Harder. I had him as a coach. And so we paid the monetary value or whatever. And it was, at first it was like, I mean, we're already 5 years into business or 4 years into business. And I'm like, just now getting a business coach. Now I'm like shooting myself in the foot. Like, why the hell didn't I do this sooner? For those of you who are listening, like, do it sooner. And then the next day we made that exact amount back right into our bank account. I treat it like when I invest in a business coach, how quick can I make this back? Yeah, it was insane. And like, we didn't do, like, from an energetic standpoint, we didn't do anything different. We paid it. We had to like be really creative with like our cards. They're like, we're not used to you spending this much money. Like, you have to do it on this. And I'm like, Chris, I'm sorry, bro. Like, I'm trying to move all this around to be able to do this. And we did. And then boom, next day, just got thrown right back into our account. And we're like, this is awesome. So when people do it backwards, like, what do you notice when people are trying to do this, besides obviously starting the business without a coach? What pattern do you tend to see with your clients that you work with where they're doing things out of order? How do people usually go out of order?
Well, they go out of order because they have shiny object syndrome. So they don't have clarity of what they even need. They're buying branding before they even know who their ideal client is. They're joining a mastermind with 150 people, but they don't even have a business yet. Like, they're doing all the things in just the wrong order. And because they don't have clarity and they don't know where they're going, they don't have a map, everything looks good. So that's the first thing that I see. And then the other problem that I see all the time is they're not staying with someone long enough to have someone in their business. So my business coach has been my business coach for 18 months. Yeah. So when people ask me, just like I'm sure with you with Chris, when people say to me, just like you, what has been part of your growth? I've had one person guiding me. I have not had 27 coaches. I have not attended 1,800 different courses. I haven't been in 17 different modules. I've had one person in my business. And that, I think, too, is something that people, they want it right now. So they hire a business coach, and if they don't get results in a week, they go to someone else. And they don't get results in 2 weeks, they go to someone else. Like, you have to give it time to grow and give these mentors time in your business.
Because they have to learn your business.
Yeah.
Right. And then they have to learn you, because you can have a business, but people are ultimately selling or buying you. In my realm, right? Like with Doc Jacque, like, they're buying me, they're buying my services, they're buying my protocols, procedures, my coaching, etc. And whether it's you're opening up your own thing, if you're like, hey, I want to have 5 people here, like, you all have to get to know each other. And then also trial and error. What is your main demographic? Do we need to change what your demographic is because they're not willing to consume what you're trying to bring to the table? Like, there's so many tweaks that you need to do along the way. There's so many moving parts that if you try to Amazon Prime it and get it done in 2 days, like, you're screwed. And quite honestly,
even just like, does your group coaching program sell better in the summer versus in the winter? If you're selling to moms, do you have more money objections in the fall near Christmas time versus like January? Like, there's so many different things. And if you're trying to Amazon Prime it and you're not giving someone enough time in that business, you're not going to see the results. And it's not the coach's fault. It's that you're impatient. If everyone came to the online space and had 7 figures in the laptop lifestyle that everyone talks about in a day, it doesn't happen like that. So people need to have patience as well.
But it's marketed that way. And that's what
oh my gosh.
It's insane. Like, because like I hate social media. Like, I despise it. I think these things are useless pieces of crap. Like, I think they're the worst thing in the world. However,
I just come on social media to watch your reels. Let's be honest.
Fair enough. I appreciate it.
All the views are just for me.
I go in on a purpose, right? Like, and I think it was Dave Asprey that said is like, when you use your phone, when you're on Instagram, when you're on Facebook or whatever, which I don't even do Facebook anymore, except to say thank you for happy birthday wishes. But like, when you're on your phone, when you come off of your phone, do you feel like you just lost time, or do you feel like you actually got something out of it? And when people search with intention, they're able to filter out the crap, and they're able to scroll faster through, like, if somebody's doing something really stupid and like, I don't care about that right now. If somebody's speaking, you're like, hey, I want to learn this information. Okay, I'm going to wait here for a second. I'm going to click on that and I'm going to follow this person because it seems like they have some good information.
Yeah.
There's different ways to be able to use these particular platforms. In the business coach platform, because I follow so many like entrepreneurial pages, and like with Chris Harder, like, you should follow blah, blah, blah because you follow him. So I'm like clicking on all this stuff, and Megan will be like, hey, did you see this? And I'll look at him like, what a lying sack of shit. Like,
for sure.
Overnight success. Bullshit. Like, how many times did you fail prior to that? And like, and people, they get, and you use the shiny ball example. Like, I think it's brilliant. Like, they're chasing the shiny ball, but there's so many people throwing shiny balls right now. They're like, oh, I want that one. Oh, I want that one. Oh, I want that lifestyle. Or, oh, I want that lifestyle. They're not sitting down and be like, what lifestyle do I even want? Before I even enter, before I enter into this entrepreneurial space, who do I want to be? Why am I going to work? How long do I want to work? And then how am I going to make this work? And if you're just chasing the shiny ball, one night successors, and you're like, I don't know why it's not working. Well,
or if you're just like chasing money, right? Are you in this just to be like a cash grab? You know, I mean, a lot of people, that's how they want to do it. Like, I love one-on-one coaching. That's what I love. So I can't chase the way that somebody else does their business, who maybe is hitting 6 and 7 and 8 figures, because that's not how I want to build my business. And it's so important that you know, what do you want in this space? What do you want to grow? And what's important to you? Just because everyone has the magic number of 10K months, 20K months, 7-figure years, whatever that is, what do you want? What's the lifestyle that you need to have, right? Like, is impact more important to you, or is income more important to you? And then build a life that feels energetically good to you. Yeah.
Because the more you schedule an alignment with what you want to do and what the purpose is, like, you don't get lost in the business. And I talk about this, like, businesses a lot of times could become the mistress, where we just get distracted by the business, and that becomes just our little safe space. We're just going to hide over here. We're going to ignore all of our worldly problems, our relationship issues, our issues with our kids. We're just going to hide in our little entrepreneurial bubble. And then some people, I've seen this, which drives me crazy. I don't understand the logic. I'm a huge logical thinker. Like, when people don't use logic, it drives me crazy. But like, I've had people that I've worked with who have purposely tanked their businesses. Because then they're allowed to spend more time in trying to fix their businesses, and then they hide from their family. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, that is the exact opposite. Like, figure this stuff out. And stepping into the entrepreneurial space, again, being one, it's not always easy, but like, I can tell you 10 times over, I wish I had a coach and a mentor in the very beginning, so I didn't have to make all the mistakes I did. Now, there's the pain pleasure principle. I will not go back and make the same mistakes that I did. And there's something to be said for lessons to be learned. But like, why not also learn that with a coach? So that way, when you do fail, your coach can be like, listen, that didn't work. Let's try this because I've seen this work. And then so you're able to get back on your feet much quicker than if you just try to do it all yourself.
Yeah. And they can see the gaps. They can be there. I mean, a great example, like, I'm launching something right now with my good friend, Alex Street. And I saw it one way. Like, I only saw it one way, and it was going one way. And I got on a call this week with my mentor, and like, she saw it just one little tweak, and she made one little tweak in it. And we had 5 people join. And it was like, if I didn't have her just to see it from a totally different perspective. So it's like, even if you have a successful business, it's important to have mentors, because they can just see things differently. It's a different perspective. And one of the things, like, I know you probably have this with Chris, it's very important for me when I'm picking a mentor that they're successful, not just online, but like, what are they building offline? Like, I will never hire the business coach that has only been a business coach, right? Like, I'll never hire like the money coach that's only been a money coach. So, you know, just like Chris and like Raquel, who's my coach, it's like, what have they built offline? Just like you, just like me, because again, they're learning skills for life, not just in this little online world.
Yeah. And I wanted to touch on one other thing too, about the pivoting aspect in terms of like the failure piece, or if you go to launch a program or a retreat or seminar, et cetera. And I remember, oh my gosh, I freaking remember being like, I hired some super shitty media thing because of an organization I was a part of that was just a bunch of bullshit. And they're like, oh, we'll drive people to your talks. And I'm like, I'll use all the information you need. Go ahead, build it. And I'd like, look at the Eventbrite. I'm like, fuck, there's nobody on these stuff. Like, what the heck is going on? And then it's hard to not internalize that, because again, like, people are buying you. Like, what am I doing wrong? Am I turning people off? Like, because then so you self-reflect, and there's something to be said about that being a positive experience if you fix it. But like, some people, if they keep failing and they keep trying to launch it and it's not going anywhere, sometimes they can talk themselves out of their own purpose.
100%.
And that's scary to me, because I mean, the online world, I mean, even the business world, like, there is so much ground that could be conquered doing whatever you want to do, whether it's the same thing as somebody you saw down the street doing. You are a completely different person than somebody else wanting to do the same exact thing. You have different life experiences than they had. You may be able to speak volumes to this. They can only speak volumes to that. So never be fearful of it. Never be fearful of failing, but always try to have somebody in your corner to bring you up when you do go down. It's so important. I see it with doctors that I coach all the time. It's like, how do you let your mind go down so much? And then I'm like, if you didn't talk to me, like, what the hell would happen? Like,
what would happen? Where would you be?
Yeah, because I have a doc that I work with, and he's in a process of trying to switch into like an independent contract role from this office that he's in, but it's kind of like a sloppy whatever. And then his wife got fired from that organization. I'm like, it's like, I don't know how this is going to work. And he's like, I'm just going to do it. And I'm like, well, buddy, like, first, he didn't know what the definition of an independent contractor was. And I'm like, well, you can't jump into that space if you don't know how to do it. And he goes, well, I just want the life that you have. I'm like, well, what are you willing to sacrifice to get that life? And he's like, what do you mean about a sacrifice? I'm like, bro, you think that like I just woke up one day and I was like,
had this lifestyle?
Like what? I work 16 hours a week and you want that? You want the profit that I have? You don't want the blood, sweat, and tears that I poured into this business, into this practice?
That's what people miss. They miss how we got there, right?
They look at the highlight reels, and that's another reason I hate Instagram. It's like, it's the highlight reel. You're seeing everybody at their best, but what's happening behind the scenes? And when you can find those authentic people, like myself, like yourself, and the people that I associate with, and it's hard to find. Trust me, God, I met so many influencers on Instagram. I'm like, you are a lying sack of shit. I would never send anybody to you. But when you find that authenticity, when you step into that, like people, good, like Chris says, when good people make good money, they do great. Yeah, they do great things. And so to be able to step into that space, to have that support, and then as a doctor or as a professional or whatever space that people want to step into, the more you can have the positives around you to guide you along the way, the easier the success is going to be. Know that there's going to be some sacrifices along the way. And also, if you're married, have that conversation with your spouse that, hey, things might be a little bit dicey here for a little bit. I need you to be my rock, which is exactly what Megan is still this entire time. Mm-hmm. If we didn't have that successful foundation set prior to stepping into that entrepreneurial space, then I don't think we would be, I know we wouldn't be where we are today. Mm-hmm. So when you do coaching with clients and things, do you talk about the relationship aspect as well, making sure that you spend time with each other?
Yeah, we talk about what are you building? Are you building a business around your life, or are you building a life around your business? And the first thing, one of the things people come to me with all the time is like, my schedule's out of control. I just had this conversation with Amanda Clark yesterday. My schedule's out of control. I don't know what I'm doing. And I'm like, what are your boulders? What's important to you? Is it time with your husband? Is it time with your kids? Is it pizza night on Sunday night? Is it, spin class on Sunday morning? Like, those things need to come in first, and then everything else can come in around it. But so often we think it has to be like all of these things first, and then everything else gets put around it. And that's where your business fails, your relationship fails, all of those things. Like, I'll be honest, I have an all-in mentality. And when I moved from corporate to the online space, I had to make money quick, and I had to make a lot of money quick because I came from the corporate space. Sure. And I came all in, and I did it backwards. I was like, hey, I got to push everything else out, and I got to go all in. And I had a 6-year relationship that failed. We're back together now, thankfully. Okay. But because I did exactly what we just talked about. I was like, I'm all in, and this is what is going to happen. And I then at the end of that year, I made all this money, made all this impact, and I was lonely as shit. Yeah. So then I went back and I said, where are my people? Where are my rocks? Where are my boulders? And I didn't have any of those things in place. So now, year 2, my business looks a lot different. My relationships look a lot different. My programs look a lot different. I serve people a lot differently. And will I make less money this year? Maybe, but my life over here is a lot happier.
Yeah. And it's so, Amanda was saying that too about the fit the business into your life, don't fit your life into the business. And I don't think truer words could be spoken in that, because again, whether it's people sacrificing their health or sacrificing their relationships, like it can be, an all-in mentality. And you only have so much time in the day that you can divvy up. Right. And a lot of us are like, man, it's too hard to balance this, that, or the other thing. Well, I know from not having a business coach, you do a lot of stupid tasks throughout the day, or you get stuck on Instagram and you're like, I don't know what to do. And if you took inventory on how much time you fucking waste throughout the day,
Huge.
You could pour that time right back into your relationship. You're done. You're done at 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night. Why the hell are you still on your phone? Are you doing something with a purpose? Are you growing your business? Or are you just trying to hide from your spouse? You know, to me, like I've got a no phone rule. I don't even know where my phone is half the time because I set it somewhere and I walk away from it and I am not a part of it. And it was hard at first where I'm like, oh, I feel like I always have to be on call, but I built my schedule properly. Again, only working 16 hours a week. Could I definitely make more if I doubled my hours? Probably. I could probably double my income. But am I willing to sacrifice my relationship with my wife and my kids or my patients or be burnt out because of that? No, I think that that's stupid. I'm not doing this for money. I'm doing this to help people and help people step into their truest potential and being abundantly healthy and taking care of entrepreneurs like yourself that you can not just do it short term, but extend it long term. And I'm all about predictability of health into the future. You know, so that way, if a health crisis does come, you have a stronger foundation of health to just start with. And then, you know, you just a little tweak here, there, and boom, you're right back to it. Instead of like, hey, my health fell apart and what do? Surgery, drugs. I'm always going to be like this. I'm never going to be able to. And then you always have that identity crisis inside you where you're always expecting that same weakness to take place. Think about heart attacks. People get heart attacks. They're afraid to work hard again because overworking is what they were told made them have the heart attack to begin with.
Yep. It's
right?
So true. It's so true.
So again, going back to the vital importance to having a business coach to be able to iron out all those details. You've been there, you've done it, you're tried and true, not just from yourself, but from your freaking clients too. Like the proof is in the pudding. If people are like, no, Jillian, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. Well, guess what? Jillian would be no longer doing what she does because she wouldn't be successful and she wouldn't have any clients. So like, I mean, really, I talked with Matt Zanis about this yesterday when we did a podcast and we were like, hey, we charge cash. Like if we sucked at what we did, nobody's going to pay us because we don't fall under the insurance realm. Like we would just be out of business. So we have to be doing something right if people are willing to pay us what our fees are to be able to see us. Same thing with business coaches. Now, there are some that are out there that, again, they'll promise a future and then they'll slap like an insane price tag on top of it. And I'm like, listen, like and I get it. There's psychology of numbers and I raised my prices specifically for that reason to filter out some people who really just like didn't care about their health so much and they could just write off a bunch like a check or something and be like, it was only a couple grand, not that big of a loss. And now when we do it, it's like, okay, they're actually investing in my patient quality and my patient response and my patient follow through and results through the freaking roof.
Oh yeah.
So
that's how it was with my functional neurologist. By the time I got to him, I was like, I'll pay whatever it is. And just like he said, my patient of quality of patients at that point was like, when you're willing to spend this, you're going to be doing the work.
Yeah, exactly. Cause you're invested in it. You know, it's like doing a favor for a friend and then that friend, you know, they take it for granted. They don't take it seriously or they just use and abuse it and expect that same thing to be done again.
Yeah.
But oh my gosh, there's so much. So much we keep on. Yeah. All right. So we talked about that. We talked about the relationship aspect. Definitely hire a coach. If we haven't said enough, hire a coach even before stepping into that field of things. What would you say, besides going out of order and or backwards, what would you say the biggest pitfalls that you see in entrepreneurship?
Not giving it enough time.
Okay.
They want everything overnight and they're not giving it enough time. I mean, people come to me all the time and they're like, hey, I've been doing this for 3 months and I haven't had any clients yet. Okay, give it 3 more months and then give it 6 more months and then give it 9 more months. The online space is so saturated. You have to, one, give it time. You have to dedicate to it. And then this is the other thing. You can't go half-ass at this. Like part of the reason why I've been successful is from day one, I have been all in. So when you are half-assing it, you're going to normally get not half-ass results. You're going to get no results. Yeah. So I see this all the time. People are like in and then they're out. They're in and then they're out. They're changing what they're doing. They're all over the place. And that's, again, you're inconsistent in your results. You're not going to get inconsistent results. You're going to get no results. So wait until you can go all in. You can give it your all. And I think that is going to be another really big thing. The third thing is trying to follow what everybody else is doing is going to be another huge thing that I see. Like you're trying to build everybody else's business. You go to a master class, you think you need that. You're following Jacque, you think you need to do reels. You're following Jillian Murphy, you think you need to have like, very polarizing content. Like, what do you want to build?
Yeah.
What feels good to you? Put the glasses on, put your head down and get to work on your business. You know, like right now, reels are the thing, right? I'm probably the only business coach out there that doesn't do reels. I don't want to do them. But if I had my head out there thinking I had to do them, it's like people think they have to do what everybody else is doing. No, build what feels good to you.
Yeah. And this is huge, right? So like we just branded me like last year. So because of Chris, or thanks to Chris. And there were a lot of things that, the reels and I call it the tickle talk because I don't take TikTok very seriously. There's these trends that like I try to follow. We shoot with Kenzie with Heart Creative like once a month to like get our videos and our reels and stuff done. And like I've warmed up to it. I'm not very extroverted at all. And by not very, I'm insanely introverted. Like I just want to hide in my shell and I'm totally cool there. But sometimes it's good to step out of your comfort zone if you see the value in it. But like my business is not built from social media. My business is built from taking care of the people in front of me. And I think that that's something that's really big for you to hear. Say you have one follower, right? We're always hungry for the next follower or the next one or the next one or the next one, or what can we do to see more or get a bigger audience? Well, you're forgetting about that one person who you can massively impact their life, whether it's through what I do or through what you do. And then what happens when you impact that person's life? Ripple effect, right?
Yeah.
They become a beacon of success. So you're worried about pounding the pavement on Instagram, but you're being distracted from what you're really being truly called to do. Mm-hmm. And what you're missing is that your people that you work with will then pass the word about what you've done for them.
Yeah.
And so that's patient referral. Like my entire client base up until like probably 6 months ago is 100% word of mouth. And the new ones I get also just 100% word of mouth, because if you give people good quality care, you do what you promise and they see the results, they're your street team. They're paying 100%. You to market for you.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it's really important to know that, you don't have to jump on every trend that's out there. Can it help? Sure. But make sure you focus on the people that you have, because then it leads into that inauthenticity where they're just another number to you. You don't really care about them and you're just about the money. You just want to get to the next level. So you could say that you make 7, 8, 10,000 figures a year.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because one of the things that you talked about when we first jumped on here was you were following my old page and not my new page. And, I had a 15,000 follower page up until last October, and I shut it down and I started a new page, and people thought I was crazy. They were like, you have this big page that you've built. It's vanity metrics. You're getting lots of likes. You're getting lots of comments on it. People are going to take you seriously because you have a big following. And I started from scratch because it was about serving my ideal client. And I shut that page down because it was built on a previous life. I was a fitness competitor and it wasn't who my ideal client was. And I let that kind of get in my head. I was like, I have this big page. I have a lot of followers, all these things. And it goes back to exactly what you just said. I would rather have a page of 10 people that I am making an impact in, and 3 people commenting on it, know that I'm making an impact in their life, versus a bunch of randos that are just following me, that are not advocating for me and not helping me grow my business.
And then I have another question to go from a previous thing that we said. So we've always talked, like myself and like my companions, we've always talked about the burning the bridges analogy, right? So like you went all in. So what I'll see again with people jumping ship, all right, or making it to the other shore, is they're keeping a boat on the shore. And so that if they fail in entrepreneurship, they run right back to the boat and go back to what they came from. Do you see that a lot of times? Do you tell people they just fucking burn the boats and forget about that old life? Yeah. Because you can't move forward if you're still thinking about the past and what life was like. It's like when Moses led the slaves out of Egypt, and after a certain period of time, they're like, I want to go back to Egypt. And they're like, what the what?
Yeah,
you
no,
wanna,
get rid of
what?
it. Burn it.
What?
Burn it.
Yeah. Burn the boats, burn the bridges. If you had, well, maybe don't burn bridges. That's a different, analogy of it. But like,
because you're always going to have that mindset that like, I can go back. And if you have that mindset that you can go back, you're never going to be all in on this.
And you'll be lazy because you don't have to worry about that failure. And then at some point you'll be like, this is too hard.
My page, because I keep it I got to go back and grab a bunch of content. but I don't have it up and running. And I'm not like going back and like, oh, maybe I'll still post just in case. And maybe I'll still engage. I keep it up. I keep it just because like there's good content and I'm lazy sometimes. And I just want to like repurpose stuff. Yeah. But I'm not like, oh, if this page doesn't work, I can go back to that following. No, that page is dead to me other than grabbing content once in a while.
Sure. And we did that with, we had the structured chiropractic page, and obviously with me not fully adjusting right now, that's a stupid page name to have. So I just went back to my old personal account and we rebranded everything from there, hired a PR team, and they just took over. But that's like, you know, being able to have that mindset that, again, it's okay to fail. You're able to learn from those failures, but make sure you have somebody in your court to redirect you when those failures do happen, because there's a lot of pitfalls that do happen that are pretty common in business. And, you know, I would say a lot of people's issues too is like, hey, like when we went to chiropractic school, right? Or when I didn't get accounting background. They didn't teach us shit about business. They're just like, the only thing they told us is you're going to fail if you go out and open your own practice. Like that's legitimately like what they're telling. Like, thank you for your money. Go be unsuccessful. I'm like, thanks guys. Appreciate it. Yeah, we'll be paying this debt back for a while. So you get out and like, okay, so you get to a point where it's like, okay, in my activities of daily living in terms of business, what do I have to do? What do I want to do? Okay. So you have the have to and want to list. I did not want to be on social media. So what did I do? Hired out. Somebody else is doing that for me. I don't want to have to do anything for scheduling. Hire out. Somebody else does that for me, right? So business coaching. I don't want to think about how to upscale my business. Like I want to do it, but I would rather have somebody coach me who knows or could. Yeah. Like, what do you think I should do? Okay, cool. Boom. Let's do it. Like,
and sometimes we don't know. Like I had a business coach for a minute, 3 months. It was a bad thing. And I would come to the calls and she'd be like, what do you want to work on today? I don't know. I want someone to tell me who has already been there. So just like Chris with you and Raquel with me now again, like they tell me where it's going. They tell me where it's going to grow, because that's what a business mentor does. Yeah.
Because when you're in it, right, you have your blinders on and you only focus on what's in front of you. So it's like focusing on the trees instead of taking a look back and looking at the whole entire forest. Yep. So when you are able to have somebody who's been in the space, whether it's for a short period of time or a long period of time, they're still able to see your pitfalls that you may just be completely either biased against, or we may have these preconceived notions of things that were passed to us from our parents, teachers, preachers, et cetera, that it can only be this way. You can't do it this way. And then your business coach is like, well, no, that's where the success takes place, is when you do it that way. That's why these people are not successful. So the other thing is, don't take advice. You can listen to people, but don't take and receive advice from people who are not successful. In the realm of success,
guys, write that down.
Like, I feel like that's kind of common sense, but like really, there's so many people who are opinionated about this, and how that also plays into the business side of things is you can't go to, again, from Pittsburgh, and I know you're from Michigan, right?
Yeah.
So super like blue collar cities, and you go and you're like, I'm going to take over the world. I'm going to go in an online space. I'm going to do this functional medicine. So I remember I had a chiropractor that was down right below me. And like people would come up to me. I was hidden in the middle of freaking nowhere next to a gas station. Somehow I was still successful. But I told this guy, I'm like, hey buddy, I need somebody to take care of my patients. I'm going to be shutting up shop and I'm going to be moving to Arizona. And the first thing that guy said was, what did you do? Is everything okay? Is the business not doing good? And I'm like, bro, no, I'm doing like my naturopathic stuff, like my functional medicine, like it's doing really well. And my passion's there. I'm like, I'm literally offering you my book of patients to take care of them. Like, what the hell? But knowing that, okay. And so say you're the average Joe, like myself was an average Joe. And then you start to get like this anxiety inside you. Like, I think I'm called for a little bit more than this. And it's really uncomfortable. And I know excitement and anxiety kind of resonate the same frequency in the body. So it could be tough at times to assess which one's which. But then you're like, okay, you know who I'm going to tell? I'm going to go tell my parents that I'm going to quit doing chiropractic and I'm going to go in a virtual online space. I'm going to go be successful. And I did that. I told my parents that. My parents are just like,
yeah. My parents still are like, when are you going to get a real job?
Yeah. What? Like, what? And so like, but I can't fault them. Right? I love my parents to death. My parents are great. They don't know. But I also wouldn't take advice from them because they haven't stepped into that field. So I can be like, listen, I love and respect you and I appreciate your concern for me, but like, you'll see me up at the top. Like, don't worry about me. I'll be good.
Yeah, I say the same thing. I'm like, I'm good. I know you guys don't get what I do, but I'm good.
Yeah. And I love my sister's dad too. She's out in Maryland. And I found out through my brother-in-law that like my sister wants to do like what I do just from like an attorney standpoint. And she's overworking herself. And I'm the only one in the family that has like my own business. My brother-in-law, he owns like a bazillion businesses, but like direct bloodline family, I'm the only one that has like their own business. And so I was talking to my brother-in-law. I'm like, just tell her to freaking open up her own shop. She'll be fine. Yeah. And I was like, if I could do it, she could totally do it. Like, she's already got a freaking book of people that she could just open and work with. And he goes, well, she doesn't really know how successful you are. So she's still kind of waiting to see like if this works. I'm like, come on. Like,
you're like, I'm pretty sure it's working.
Seriously. Like, are you kidding me? At this point, you still think that way. So making sure that you filter out the naysayers. But you don't have to necessarily cut them completely out of your life. Now, there's definitely going to be some aching in the camps that are going to try to pull you down.
For sure.
They will not stop. They are relentless. They're energy vampires. They will come at you until you fucking fail. And they will be 100%. So happy when you do, because they do not want anybody doing better than them.
Oh, yeah. I've lost some of my closest girlfriends. And I'm like, peace out.
Yeah. Again, see you at the top. Or I'll see you from the top.
Yeah. You keep your 9-to-5 job making $30 grand a year. I'm doing just fine.
You'll be miserable and I'll be just fine.
Yep.
So having the business coach, the mentorship of that, and then also knowing like, hey, only take advice from people who have either been there, learned the lesson, or are open to being able to coach you through this process. You know, it's not like I wouldn't ask a plumber to do heart surgery.
Exactly.
On me. Like, that wouldn't make any sense. It seems silly just to say that, but the same thing happens. You can't take advice from people who either aren't in the space or don't know how to be successful there, and all they do is work their 9-to-5. And again, it's nothing against people who enjoy working 9-to-5s. There's nothing against that. It just wasn't for me. It wasn't for you. And that's okay. We can choose to live our lives the way that we want to. And that's the beautiful thing about how we live is we can choose to grow. We could choose to shrink. We could choose to have a season of growth. We can choose to have a season of relaxation. And being an entrepreneur is awesome because you can kind of balance that. And I know I struggle with that. And Megan, bless her heart, she forces me to go on vacations and stuff, but I need them. Yeah. I'm just so used to working and grinding. And even being at 16 hours a week, like I still work a lot. And to me, I work a lot, and I'm working behind the scenes. I'm looking at tests. I'm absorbing energy from people, from horrible things that are going through, kids with cancer. I'm like, oh my God. So I don't know where I was going with that.
I love that you talked about that. And I'm going to chime in on that because I was a coach inside of a mastermind recently, and there was 150 people inside of it. And as a mentor inside of there, I would coach the people, and then they would leave for a month and they would go network and do whatever. And then they would come back and they wouldn't have moved a lot in their business, but they would have talked to 78 other people during that time. Yeah. And those 78 other people that they would have talked to haven't moved in their business. So this is also what I see is that you're taking advice, just like you said, from people who haven't done it. So we talked about things that like people are doing in their businesses that's crutching them. They're spending time in networks and getting advice from people, kind of like you just said, that aren't at the growth that they want yet. So don't continuously spend time like in these circles or in these community talks or in these networking groups or in these like programs where you're not getting advice from the people that are like 1 to 2 steps ahead of you yet.
I'm gonna grab something real quick. Just
no problem.
I was like, wait, it's been so long since I brought this thing out, but right here.
If your circle doesn't inspire you, yes, you have a cage. It's so true.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's on my wall. With the inability of people to be able to associate with those circles, right? Like, again, being introverted, okay, my networking style is vastly different. Mm-hmm. People want to feel safe. And so stepping out of their comfort zone feels unsafe. So they would rather just kind of sit and be like a wallflower, not really communicate with people, right? And then, so if they are going to communicate with people as an introvert, am I going to go up to the loudest, most like rambunctious person in the world and be like, hey, let's have a conversation? No, I will not do that.
Right.
And so even though I would know that I would need to go there and make that connection with that person who is 2, 3, 4, 5 steps ahead of me, I still stay in my bubble because I'm safe here. And in the entrepreneurial space, safe does not allow for growth. If you step into discomfort and pain, you will not grow. Just like a muscle, you have to inflict pain on it in order for there to be growth. If anybody tells you different, they're lying to you and they're just trying to take your money. So make sure that if you are going into the networking, that you're going in, again, as genuine as you are, who you are, because you never know. If you make one awesome connection, like I've made so many awesome connections. One of my best buds, Johnny L. Sasser, like
God, I love Johnny.
Johnny's my boy. Like the dude's awesome.
I love Johnny.
Yeah. So like I met Johnny through Taylor. I had Taylor on Facebook Live the day that we bought Megan a car. It's just a whole different whatever. So I had her on. She's like, "You would love my husband." I'm like, "I don't even know who your husband is." Like, let's see. I can
see that synergy there. Yeah.
Oh my God. We hit it all. Like we were best friends before like we even met each other. Then we went like deep sea fishing and stuff.
Have you done his retreat? Have you done his wild?
Not yet.
Okay. So my boyfriend went to it last year, and my boyfriend's like a civil engineer, and he went to it and he was like, "What are these people? He's never been around entrepreneurs." Loved it. Yeah.
So shameless plug. Go to the Wild Man Experience.
Shameless
Johnny L. Sasser. Yeah, because we love him. But seriously, like my goal with meeting Johnny was not to network. My goal was I needed and wanted to find people who I can be my authentic self with and not be judged or because I want to grow or because I want to do crazy things. Like he'll top it and be like, "Well, you should do this." I'm like, "Well, that's even crazier than what I thought." He's like, "Well, why not? Like, if you fall short of it, at least you hit your goal." So I was texting, I just smoked a brisket on there. I was bragging to Johnny L. Sasser. And do you know Elliot Schwartz as well?
Yeah.
He's hard to tag because he keeps getting in trouble on Instagram, but like I'll tag him in that stuff. We did a bro trip out there and we just had such an awesome time. But through that genuine connection, right? I've sent Johnny people. I'm like, listen, like in the men's mindset space, go to Johnny. I know nobody else who's better at that than Johnny. And Johnny's like, he's networking all around. And he's like, "Hey bro, I'm going to get you in contact with so-and-so. We talked about this one weekend. And I think he's going to be a good fit for you." So again, not going into it like, how can I manufacture a false friendship to get people to use it like a parasitic friendship? It was just a genuine connection. And I love that.
People miss in the online space. Like people ask me all the time, they're like, "How do you go in and sell people?" I'm like, that's the thing. I don't go in and try to sell. I go in and make friendships and make connections. And in the realm of things, if it happens to sell, it happens to sell.
Yeah. But when you make that authentic relationship too, like people will always remember that because even like we get solicited all the time. We have to get a no solicitation sign. But like people are just pounding on our door all the time trying to sell us something. And it's just like this because I've done that. Like I've had to go to door to door. I've had to do like screening events at stupid conventions and stuff. They suck. And again, being introverted. I used to sell Kirby
vacuums. It's like the worst.
Perfect. So but it doesn't really work. And so it's completely impersonal. I know what you're there to do. You're there to shove this thing down my throat until I say yes, or I feel like I'm mean and saying, "No, get the hell off my property." So I'm going to make a passive aggressive sign and say, "Get off my property or else you'll be met with force." Right. Something along those lines.
I love it.
But when you're in that online space or you're in the entrepreneurial space or just the business space, just in general, make sure that you make those authentic connections because it might not be that moment that person works with you or that client works with you. But in that moment where they're like, "Hey, you know what, Jillian, I thought I was going to start a business. I'm not going to do that right now. But I promise you when I do go to step into that space, I'm going to contact you before I do it." And a lot of people do follow through with it, or they might be uncomfortable with the thought of growing as much as you may, think. Like you could see that potential in people. Yeah. And they'll be like, "But who would do really well with you would be Joe over here or Susie over here. So I'm going to get you in contact and I'm just going to try to, because again, for me, forming genuine relations with people to send my people to, like that means the world to me. I want everybody to be unbelievably successful, but do it in the right way and not in a bent and twisted way, which I've seen all too often in a professional space.
That's why people have such a bad realm around sales.
Everything you do is selling. If you say hi to somebody, you're selling your hello. If you open the door, you're selling your kindness to somebody. Like everything that you're doing, who you are as an individual is a form of sales. So to think like, oh, sales is sleazy or whatever, it's like, no, if it's sleazy, they're doing it wrong. Like,
it's because you're doing it wrong. It's because you have a disingenuous way of doing it.
Yeah. And if you go in thinking that you're sleazy doing it, then
you probably are.
You probably are, or you need to figure out why you're doing it to begin with. You know, does it not resonate with you? Do you not feel comfortable? Because like I don't have to sell anything. Like if somebody
either.
wants to work with me, I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm not shoving a care plan down your throat. I'm not saying if you do this, you're going to die. Trust me, I've been in instances where people are like, you're going to die if you don't do this. Like, no, like if you want to, like, I'm here. That's what I'm here for.
Like, here's
what
the store.
I do.
If you want to buy something, I'm available.
Exactly.
That's what I always say.
Yeah. So, I mean, what you're doing is tremendous. I know Megan speaks super freaking highly of you.
Oh my gosh,
as well.
she's the sweetest. I love her.
Yeah. I mean, like, and you're obviously you've permeated through my friends as well. So
Thank you.
you're good people. And so
Thank you. I appreciate that.
what I want to do is leave with like a couple closing remarks here, because I want to be, respectful of your time and everything. If you had just one thing of advice, besides obviously contacting you for help, because that'll be next. That's the second question. What is like one little free tidbit of information that you would give somebody to say like, hey, this is what I would say if you're thinking about stepping into that space?
Yeah. Get really clear of why you want to do it. Get really clear of why you want to do it, why it's important to you, and what's the impact that you want to make in this space. So, I always say, like, why do you want to do it? Why do you want to be a coach? Why do you want to be a mentor? Why do you want to be an online doctor? Like, why do you want to do it? Get really clear on that, because then that'll be the driving force for every single thing that you want to do. Awesome.
All right. And then on top of that, obviously we talked, you don't have a podcast yet.
Yes, I will this year.
Well, it's recorded. This is recorded, so that we're holding you accountable here. You heard it here first, ladies and gentlemen. Where can people reach out to you?
Yeah, so you can reach out to me on the gram, the Jillian Murphy. Come over, say hello. If you guys are listening to this podcast, you are obviously good people, and I want to get to know you better. So come over, say hello to me on the gram. Let's get to know each other. Yeah, let's go from there.
I'll have them put it in the show notes and everything as well, where to find you on Instagram, etc. But again, thank you so much. I know we had a rough start the last time we tried to do this with Zoom and everything, but super grateful to have you on here. And I'm so pumped to get this information out to my viewers. And honestly, I think I'm happy to send people your way as well.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
It'd be awesome. Yeah, you bet.
Thank you.